Yeah.
It's too heavy for them to cart off.
So, James is having some of those shijimi mushrooms mixed with some rice. I've started putting some of the wild rice on this, but I decided he can do it himself. And cauliflower, peas, and some cherry tomatoes, or grape tomatoes. And half of, I ate the other half of this earlier. It's spicy woman tomato soup, just to go on top. And I'm having baba ganoush with the potatoes.
That looks pretty fancy too,
mine's pretty yum too. So we're gonna have a pretty good meal.
Yeah.
And
It might be our Thanksgiving meal.
I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this book, and we're gonna talk about money and banking, what everyone should know.
We're gonna laugh about it, maybe. Who knows?
No. All right. So I'm pretty tired.
For some reason or another,
all night. Oh. And I was sleeping, but I only got a couple hours sleep in between when I started. James came back and wanted some dinner. So, anyway, first I will tell you a story that happened this morning. I went out this morning. I got to the library a little early, so I just came home. But this
story is going to be a surprise to me.
It is nice.
Hope it's not a nasty surprise. Okay.
Oh.
Good.
So I was walking, and I'm going to mention something before I forget. So with this book, there's a lot of things I forgot to mention. Like with the bath spells, she's like, throw a couple handfuls of petals, and you know, that might seem all romantic until if you're not the one having to clean up the tub or like call in the plumber when things get honestly, it's something that when you're writing a book or when you're reading a book, you think, oh, that sounds lovely. And if you actually live life and experience things, you go, oh no, right? You've had people come stay with you, and I remember one guy, he came, I don't even know why he bought these candlestick holders, but he bought candlestick holders and he was running hot water to try to melt the candle into the sink, the remnants, and I was like, what are you thinking? The wax is just gonna get hard in, because I'm the one who has to fix things like that. So I know you don't do that, right? And while I grew up, my dad was always fixing things. We didn't call in, we couldn't afford to call in for somebody to do it for us.
He was a very handy kind of guy.
Yeah, so I guess I just learnt things like that. Like I was reminded of things like, I was reminded of my dad a lot last night while I was cleaning, while I was thinking of COVID a lot. I was thinking of how can we stay safe, you know, the kids are back at school tomorrow, and well, my sleeping pattern's all messed up. I don't know what that is, but anyway.
Well, we went and walked out and saw close to full moon.
Yeah, it was lovely. I'm glad. You know, so if it stays messed up and we're hiking in the middle of the night, so far so good. It didn't, you know.
Yeah. The stars weren't out very
scary people or anything.
Yeah, so, you know, someone without a COVID mask on or whatever.
Yeah. Whereas, so anyway, I've been thinking of my dad, and we never did chores. I told James when we were little kids, we didn't get chores. You know, my parents did work, and you know, sometimes I guess if we felt like it, we'd do something. But we didn't have assigned chores or anything like that. There was a time for a while when Mom was trying to convince us that brushing teeth and washing our face were important, and so we had a chart on the wall that, you know, it would get the check marks or not, right? And so anyway, there was that, but nothing like chores, and that was when we were really little. And anyway, and my friends, they had to do chores, and so they would invite me to do their chores with them, you know, like But my friends didn't want to hang out with me really. They wanted somebody to do their chores for them. And really all that they're so they weren't really nice. You know, they were wanting, I was a more passive person than them. They were more aggressive personality types. And what they had learned from their parents was a dominance and submission thing. So they had learned that more dominant people can make less dominant people, less aggressive people do the work for them. So the chore thing doesn't raise good people. It raises bad people. My sister's house is spotless all the time. Very clean person. And my house, yeah, I keep pets. And I'll work very hard to clean, like occasionally. And I try to keep certain things clean. Like I'm not like my parents. The vacuuming the floors, they had to be done every day. And my mom has a very particular way of washing the floor. You know, she does it by hand, and she's done, and it's absolutely spotless in her house. And I understand that she has to have it that way, and I feel bad that I wasn't more the kind of person that she would have liked me to be that way, but I'm not. Like for me, the floors, if they're dirty, they gotta get cleaned, but once a week, that seems fine to me. I don't need to vacuum more than that. That seems like a good amount of time to vacuum. So, anyway, certain things need to get done, and other things, you know, they can wait a little while, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, but I certainly don't get other people doing it for me. And I don't think I would even if I had a lot of money or anything like that. I don't care to be that sort of person. But, what else was I going to say about that book?
Witchery?
Oh, I was going to tell my story. So I was out walking today.
Yeah.
And I could see from up, quite a ways up, like it's a long block. I could see pretty much the whole
It's
block.
out here, then.
I could
The
see
long
all,
block, yeah.
yeah. And so I could see very far. And there was this dog running back and forth and all, and I was thinking, he's gonna go on the road, you know, he's having a lot of fun, and I could see, and I'm thinking, is he on a really long leash, and do the people even know that leash is going to the road? I mean, it looks bad and it's a big black dog, so I can see this dog running back and forth, and I'm like, he's gonna get hit or something. So anyway, then I get closer and I notice, no, there's a couple people there. And then when I get close enough that the woman realizes she's extremely irresponsible. She's like, come on, whatever the dog's name, get off the road or whatever, right? And it's like, it's your dog. That's your responsibility. Make sure. So then she's like, she can tell I'm like, I say go, and the dog doesn't know, really doesn't know. You say that to a lot of dogs, they're like, okay, you know, or like, why? Like, but they understand.
They've heard it
right?
before.
Yeah.
But you're figuring this dog hasn't really?
No. Well, she was like, he's a puppy.
Oh, yeah?
He won't hurt you.
Right.
And I said, he has to stay 2 meters away from me. It's COVID. And she's like, a dog's not going to give you COVID. And I'm like, dogs can get COVID. And she doesn't want to believe me. And anyway, look it up.
Yeah. No, she's not alone.
And no, people don't realize
there are people
it, right?
with university
I see cats
education
wandering around all over the place. And if they pick up COVID, well, they're going to spread it around.
Yep.
And they may not die from it.
They shouldn't be allowed to wander in these circumstances.
Yes, they shouldn't be allowed. The animal control people should be picking up animals that are out. And if they have a tag, call the owner. Otherwise, this is serious. It's pandemic times.
Yep.
And when people let their pets wander like that, they are homicidal. It's ridiculous.
Well, manslaughter is
Okay, maybe I'm overstating it.
attempted manslaughter.
So anyway, this dog's running, and he
No.
has a lot of fun. He's a puppy, right?
Yeah.
And I said, you can't have your dog off a leash. This is not an off-leash area. And she's like, well, it's not my fault. He slipped out of his collar. It's not my fault, is it? And I'm like, no,
It
well, you
kind of
have
is.
to get your dog. You have to keep your dog 2 meters away from me, I said. And she's like, well, if you'd just stop, he'd stop moving. And like, he's coming brushing right to me. You know, he's having a lot of fun. It's a game, right? And so I'm like, he has to stay 2 meters away from me, and he's obviously not, right? And so I just keep walking. I'm walking home, and this dog's rushing me back and forth, and then he jumps up and he puts his paw on me, and I'm like, your dog just touched me. And she's like, if you stop moving, I could catch him. And
the dog would be touching probably.
the man's like, don't worry, he won't hurt you. And I'm like, he has to stay 2 meters away from me. He could have COVID. And I tell him about the other animals, that if you look it up, you will see that other animals can get COVID. And he looks like he's going to believe me a little more. And he might look it up. She wouldn't. She was telling him, if that stupid bitch had stopped moving, then I could get it. Yeah, and I'm like,
you know,
wow.
here's the amazing thing. I've noticed this pattern. I mentioned before.
Yeah.
You call people who are nether sphincters.
Yeah.
You don't call them nether sphincters.
No.
But
You're
you
not eating your stuff on it.
It's hot. I can't handle it.
Oh.
With my hand. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't want to burn myself. I was waiting for it to cool down.
So
anyway, what I was going to say is, you don't call them what they are.
No.
All you do is you say, you know, don't do this or whatever.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're what they are, according to them. So here we go. She's calling me the B word.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
and
like
I'm a
calling.
stupid bitch. So anyway.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay.
I'm trying to tell her, by telling her the facts, that yes, they can get COVID, and you're responsible for your dog.
Yeah,
not coming 2 meters. You know, it has to keep the 2 meter space.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what I was gonna say is, there's a lot of stupid bitches out there, apparently me, and you may as well start praying to someone. So, full moon tonight, whatever. Boy, oh boy. So that was my story of the day.
Oh, that's awful.
Eventually they got their dog. God.
Stupid. It's a big trial and tribulation. They can help it. They can get a leash that, you know, like a halter top.
Well, she wasn't. They weren't
halter
concerned about their dog at all.
No.
Until I got really close. Until their dog was. Until I said something about it.
Really, that's what the thing is. Until you said something.
Because I saw that dog running from a block away. They weren't
Long
getting
block.
him then. You know, and I wasn't anywhere near there. So
is it a
he's not
place where
running
they
around 'cause I'm
lived, or were they
running around.
walking, or what were they doing?
They're out front that Scuzzy apartment.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay.
Total trailer trash.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, I think it's worse than trailer trash.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
like.
That woman was aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Might have been the woman that flicked the cigarette in my face.
No,
Okay,
that
that was
woman
a
was a
different-
brunette, wasn't she?
I can't remember.
I don't know. That apartment building.
Well, yeah, it's amazing. The cops are there semi-regularly, and more than frequently. So. I think there's a.
So we were talking about money and banking, so James
Banking
will
and
be
money.
talking about it more. I've done my story.
Speaking of stupid critters.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about money and banking, so I'm a student, and I'm basically
Welcome to the
asking
club.
James.
I don't know
Anyway.
that much about it,
Okay.
but we know more than this bozo does. So.
More than he's in marketing, sir. He's marketing his
Hmm?
the
he's advertising himself as somewhat something
Yes,
of an
I
expert
know
in monetary
on
point.
this stuff, and this is, he's teaching it the way it is. He's presenting it as it's.
He's teaching it the way it's propagandized. There we
Yes,
go.
that's
It's
the word I
propaganda,
wanted and
but it's
didn't
also
wanna have to
marketing.
use.
These guys do marketing. They're much more effective at marketing their philosophy than the commies were, right? The commies, it was obviously propaganda. Madison Avenue will sneak, political kind of stuff into their seductively attractive ads, that people watch the Super Bowl for. Who watches the Super Bowl to watch football? It's so boring. Unless it's changed from when I was younger, It's been years since I've seen a Super Bowl.
All right. So, this is a traditional argument, page 217. Independence is necessary if a central bank is to keep inflation low and steady. Without independence, central banks are more likely to succumb to pressure to provide more stimulus to the economy than is consistent with low and steady inflation. James is just going to stop me whenever he feels
Well, I'm going to stop right there.
Right there. Okay, go ahead.
Or maybe you go through until you get to the end of this section, where he's talking about independence.
Okay, page 218.
Because this is key.
Rises in inflation are associated with decreases in unemployment. The relative distaste for inflation is captured by a positive parameter V. If the Fed opposes inflation much more than unemployment, V will be a very large positive number. If the Fed opposes inflation less than it opposes unemployment, V will be positive but less than 1. The strength of political pressure is measured by another parameter, K. If K equals 1, the Fed is under no political pressure and counts unemployment as a bad relative to the natural rate of unemployment. If K is less than 1, then the Fed is under pressure to stabilize unemployment around a rate lower than the economy is capable of generating in the long run. The smaller the K value, the stronger the political pressure. And I have formulas written out here. And I want to mention something. In the money and banking, like we have money and banking, what everyone should know, on CD.
Yeah.
We own that. And I borrowed this one on DVD from the library.
Just to see what this guy looks like.
And I'm glad that I did, because he doesn't always put the equations in the book. So then he'll be talking about what K is and what B and in the book, but there's no equation there to go with it somehow. But because it's on the screen in the DVD.
The book is lacking.
The book is lacking. And so it's like, well, why even write this in the book if there's no equation there to show... I mean, these are just variables.
Yeah,
it's really, the book is not well written. There are typos. There are things like this where the equation's missing. It's ridiculous.
This is one of the big problems with great courses.
Yeah. Well, most of the great courses we've gotten have been amazing.
Yeah, I know, but the books always tend to be a little bit too short. I mean, they put it in the package there.
Yeah.
And there are...
watch the DVDs.
There are grammar mistakes.
Well, now, I mean stream. You'll stream you don't have to get DVDs right now. If you have a computer at home, you can just stream these things.
Yeah.
Anyway, U bar, the natural rate of unemployment, the rate occurring in the long run equilibrium. It's not zero. Some people would leave jobs and be in search of other jobs. And I found this interesting because...
Is he suggesting 6% of the people are in transition? Think of other people that you've known and how many of them have been transitioned from one job to another. It's not 6%.
No, what I find interesting is that, he said something about the government uses maximum employment and the economists like to use full employment.
Yeah.
And at first I was thinking, okay, well, this is just, yellow speak. It's just a change in words. No. Because what they actually want is full employment. Somehow they want all of the people, I don't know how the ones that are really disabled will be working, or does that refer to children too? Will they be part of this full employment thing? But I mean, it's kind of creepy, right?
who wants full employment? Economists?
Mm-hmm.
Some might, not this guy. These guys actually
Full
don't.
means full.
Well, I mean,
If you're referring, if they're saying some would be leaving jobs in search of other jobs, and that's the only excuse for
okay.
unemployment,
Mhm.
they mean full.
Mhm.
When they say full, they mean full.
Well, when they say that, but they don't want full employment if it means inflation.
Yeah. Okay.
They've shown this is. I'm not reading their minds or anything like that. I just look at their performance. And what they've been doing has been sacrificing the economy and employment since 1981. And it happens again and again and again. I'm tired of it. It's been getting worse and worse and worse. 2008, Lord only knows what's going to happen. No. Trump has actually been keeping it's amazing, keeping the Fed under control. They were wanting to raise interest rates, and he basically said no way. So I hate to be on the same side of Donald Trump on even one thing, but there you go. He was right.
But you say that, like he's trying to say, oh, well, they go hand in hand, inflation and unemployment.
They are opposite. Yeah. So when one goes up, the other goes down, vice versa. Okay.
Inflation and unemployment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if unemployment goes down, inflation generally is going to go up.
Perfect. So.
Now, why is that? Forget all the garbage that he says about
Okay, yeah,
Milton Friedman says money supply and stuff like that. Why is it going to be inflation? Because full employment employers are going to say, what do we got to do to get workers? And they start competing with each other. You know, it's a law of supply and demand. You know, demand goes up, supply stays the same, and prices go up. Well, there you go. Now, I want to talk about, this is one of the key points. To me, it is the key point.
Okay.
For the whole thing, he's talking about the independence of the Fed. And differently named, but similarly functioning entities in the European Union and elsewhere. Canada has something similar. Bank of Canada, whatever it's called. He shows how Lawrence Summers, I can't call him Lawrence Summers, Larry Summers, who's been involved with government and Harvard and all this sort of stuff. I think he's involved with the Clinton administration. And some other flunky, what was it, Alberto Aniseed or something like that. Annaliso or something like that. Anyway, they'd done a study a while back. And indicated the greater the independence, the lower the inflation. Oh, okay. That doesn't bother me. That's, to me, low inflation is not necessarily a good.
Albert Alesina
Alesina.
and Lawrence Summers.
I call him Larry Summers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll also talk about Crow and Mead and transparency.
Mm-hmm. Right here? Yeah.
That's way later in the note. Go ahead.
Oh. Well, this is just a preliminary thing. I'll get into it in more detail.
You can talk about it right now.
Yeah, independence. Then someone in Mead came along and did a study later over, I think, a similar period, and they showed that there was no relation between independence and inflation. Yeah, could have changed. Could have been bad studies, both of them.
But he doesn't talk about that in here.
What I want to talk about is independence. Because That's independence from politics, as he puts it. Now, if that's independence from politics as practiced by Putin, or the oxymoron, who handles or mishandles the Chinese political, economic, and social system, whose name is escaping me right now, and perhaps that's appropriate in such a non-entity.
Doesn't matter.
But if you've got independence from a political system that's even marginally democratic, that's wrong. What that is what you're saying is the Fed is kind of like these technocrats that are above it all. Whose dream was that? Well, it was Ernest Manning and his predecessor, William Aberhart, and Harry Strom after those two. What did they believe in? They believed in social credit. And what have I said about social credit? I don't use this term lightly. They were fascists. And they believed in technocrats running the system, and I don't think they believed in democracy at all. But if you had democratic entities or participants, they'd be sidelined. Run by technocrats. This is a fascist, I'm not calling it Nazi, but fascist fantasy. And unfortunately, it's a fantasy that is being worked out or experimented. We're being experimented. We've been shoved into this fantasy. And it doesn't work. I'm not talking about morality and all that stuff. I'm not talking about it's wrong the way so many faux lefties. It's wrong to do that. I'm talking about it doesn't work. And it's wrong too. It doesn't work. And what's the proof of it? You've got these independent entities, and they don't care about unemployment. They don't. They don't care, frankly, about the economy being bad. Just so long as the people who are supporting their vision of reality are increasing their power. If the economy goes down the toilet, they don't care, so long as they're increasing their power. Watch tyrants. They end up being very bad for the political entity they represent or misrepresent, however you want to phrase it. Because what they want to do is increase their power. That's vis-a-vis whatever they can touch. And thank heavens, they haven't been able to take over the world. And so you look at Stalin, increased his power, kerplunk. Like he's lucky the Americans bailed him out so seriously in World War II. Look at Hitler, increased his power. And Germany ended up on its knees, craven and crawling at the end of World War II. The worst situation probably Germany's ever been in, because he didn't share power. People who don't believe in democracy, who don't believe it, what they do is they believe in aggrandizing power to themselves. So you look at what happened. Since 29 to 33, the biggest recession